Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the late start. A few technical issues. Hope you're all okay. Had a good week. Okay, let's get started. So today in our functional skills, we're looking at styles of writing. Sorry, I thought I had the wrong slides open, but it is the correct one. So we're looking at different styles of writing in the text that we read. So our aims and outcomes. By the end of this session, you must identify different writing styles and identify the difference in levels of seriousness and formality in journalistic styles. You should identify different tones in text, and you should be aware of opposite tones, such as serious and fun. And you could understand what writer's voice is. So style and tone. In your reading exam, you will be required to identify and discuss the tone and style of the text that you are given. So this requires an all-round knowledge of understanding text. Unlike previous tasks where you may need to identify formal or informal aspects, this looks more at specific areas. Style. All texts have a style, which is usually determined by the intended audience and or the purpose of the text. And styles that you might come across could include factual, academic, official, instructional, journalistic, and fictional. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. So let's look at those different text types. Factual. So factual writing can be found in many places, such as newspapers, magazine articles, textbooks, on the internet, and so on. And I'm sure you've all come across that at some point. And it will usually be factual writing in a formal style, so more long, complex sentences. There'll be statistics and evidence to back up the points that are made. It will be well organised and have a clear layout. So you might have headings and subheadings, so you can find information easily. There may also be footnotes, quotations, or other forms of reference. So the factual text will, for example, an academic text or in a textbook talking about an illness, it will then have quotations and so on, references to studies, statistics, or other books that have been written on that subject. And to aid understanding, it may have diagrams or charts which explain the complex data that is included. It will introduce the subject, so there'll be an introductory paragraph and then follow it with a balanced argument. And it will summarise its main points in, in a conclusion. Okay, so we're all familiar with that. So academic texts. It's similar in style to factual, and will include those elements that we've just looked at, but it may have even more detail and be even more precise. They will avoid omissions or errors because academic texts are generally examined in great detail by other academics. So any errors or omissions will quickly be spotted. It will be clear and logical. It may be dry or not fun to read because it's not there to entertain, it's there to inform, to educate. It may offer other sources on the subject written about to add further balance. So when you get to the end, there may be a few pages of suggested additional reading. So books, journals on the same subject. And it will usually include technical or very specific vocabulary. So the writer will assume that the people reading it will understand that vocabulary because they are interested in that area. Official texts. So this includes letters, business proposals, press releases, and many others. Its style includes these elements. So formal language, again, long, complex sentences, no contractions, and so on. Polite language. We would like you to attend this meeting. We would like to put forward this proposal, and so on. There may be specific or technical elements depending what the subject matter is. If you are looking at a legal document, there may be extreme levels of detail. So legal document that many people would have perhaps seen would be to do with either renting or buying a house. You usually have to sign a contract for renting, and there will be it's a legal document, sorry. So there'll be extreme detail. Also, if you're signing up for a contract for anything, terms and conditions, that's a legal document, so extreme detail. Possibly archaic language, so old-fashioned language, often Latin, particularly in a legal document, you might see Latin words. Neutral and impersonal language. So not using people's names and not favouring one side of an argument or another. Okay, any questions so far? So instructional texts, and these could include wikis or manuals. The style includes instructional language, so those imperative or command verbs that we have looked at previously. So rather than you might go, it will just say go. Or, for example, in a recipe, you might want to mix the ingredients together. It will just say mix the ingredients together. So it's instructional, it's giving a command. And there'll also be technical vocabulary specific to the subject. Features such as illustrations, diagrams, and bullet points that will help the reader to follow the instructions. There may also be advisory language, so even though they'll be very direct to make sure the instructions are easy to follow. There might be different ways of doing certain things, so there might be some suggestions. And the language needs to be precise so that people can follow the instructions easily and achieve the desired result. We can have a look at a wiki, which is instructional. So this one is how to put a spare tyre on your vehicle. 11 simple steps. So let's just move down. So we've got some things you should know to start with. Can anyone tell me any of the features of instructional or manual text that you can see straight away there with the things you should know box?
The bullet point.
Excellent, yes. So we've got a bullet point list, which is often seen. It's a feature of instructional text. Okay. So, number 1, pull over and put your hazards on. Find a safe area where traffic won't be a risk. So, what can you tell me about that first step? That shows what features can you see of instructional text?
It's bold.
Yes, we've got a bold heading. Yep. Or subheading rather.
Would you say it's numbered as well? 1. First step.
Yeah, I was hoping you would spot that. So we've got a numbered list. So this is the first, or numbered steps. So this is the first step. What about the language? Pull over.
It's a command.
Excellent. So we've got those imperative or command verbs. Pull over and put your hazards on. It's not got please if you would like to pull over. It's telling you pull over. Okay. And then we won't look at the whole thing, but if we just move down, we can see again that we've got that. Oh, we've got that bullet point. Bullet point list, and also we've got a picture as well to help understanding. Okay. Journalistic text, so newspapers and magazines, and these days as well, obviously online versions of these as well. So these journalistic texts range from tabloid to serious newspapers. So tabloids, The Sun, Metro, Mirror, and so on. And then serious, or they'll sometimes be called broadsheet newspapers, The Times, the Financial Times, the Independent, called broadsheets because many years ago they were double the size. So they literally were a broadsheet. They were a big newspaper. And also magazine articles, online pieces. Now, these can vary widely in style, depending on the writer and the expected audience. So let's look at these two styles. So serious or broadsheet journalism, there's a logical approach to the subject, often serious subject matter. Opinions by the writers or the journalists are often thoughtful and balanced, so they're prepared to consider other points of view. There's a lot more text and fewer images, and where there are images, they take up less space on the page. So ultimately, it's less eye-catching. And if we look at tabloid journalism, it's more emotive. So the language used will be more dramatic, more extreme. They want to engage people with the dramatic, sometimes shocking language to draw people in and want them to read that story. There'll be a range of subject matter from reporting on serious world and national events to celebrity gossip, fun human interest stories. Opinions can vary from mild to extreme. There'll often be lots of pictures, and usually they will be bigger than the pictures you would see in broadsheet journalism, often taking up a large proportion of the page. And the images are often as much a part of the story. So I've got a couple to show you. So if we look at the first one, and you can tell me if it is broadsheet serious journalism or tabloid journalism. So I'll just let you have a look first. So we've got the headline, photograph, and I'll just move down and let you read a little bit of it. Okay, you don't need to read all of it to identify, is this broadsheet serious journalism or tabloid journalism? What type of writing is it? Okay, if we're not sure, let's have a look at the other. It's the same story, but in the other type of newspaper, obviously the online version. So if you compare them, see if you can tell me which is the serious one, the broadsheet, and which is the tabloid. So I'll just show you and then move down. Just read a little bit of it. So which one is which?
The mayor's speech is the real one.
Pardon?
The mayor's speech.
The male?
Major speech. In a major speech.
So we've got the Sun here.
Yeah.
Got the Times. Which one is the serious journalism and which one is the tabloid journalism?
The Sun is the serious one.
So let's look at the language. So at the top, so we've got a big picture at the top. I think it's a video actually you can go on and watch. So we've got a big, huge picture there. It says, benefits blitz, find work or lose your benefits, warns PM as millions face crackdown on sick note culture and state handouts. And let's look at the times. So we have got one smaller picture there. Rishi Sunak to strip GPs of right to sign people off sick. PM vows to tackle unsustainable rises in benefit spending with 2/3 of incapacity claims for mental health problems. So which one do people think is more serious, more measured? Which one is more dramatic?
The time is serious one, I think so.
Pardon?
The Times is serious one. The series Sunak to stop the GP right sign people of sick.
Yes. So it's actually the Times that is the serious one. This is it. Yes, so on the Sun, we've got all of those pictures. It's a bit tricky here with all the adverts, but if you look, we've got the big picture at the top. We have got lots of pictures in this article, okay? There's 3 or 4, I think there's 4 pictures. In this one, we've just got this small, or smaller, it's still quite big actually, but smaller image. There is another one lower down. There's a lot more text here in the serious article. So they're all about they're slightly different parts of this story about sick pay that's been in the news the last couple of days. So benefits blitz. So straight away, that is a tabloid style phrase, if you like. Blitz, benefits blitz. We've got alliteration. Find work or lose your benefits. The dramatic nature of that headline. Okay. Anything else anybody notices about the 2 articles? So if I just draw your attention here, if we look, the last line that you can see on the screen, Sunak wants to shift away from GPs signing off Brits. So that's shorthand, Brits, for British people. That you wouldn't really see that in a serious broadsheet story. That's more a tabloid way of writing it. The more that you look at these different types of text, the easier it will be for you to recognize the different features and to identify the type, the style, and so on. So you could buy a couple of newspapers, or you can look for the same stories on 2 different websites. So something like the Sun or the Mirror, the Daily Mail, and then have a look at those same stories, how they are reported in the Times or the Independent, the Guardian. They're the broadsheets. Okay, and you will notice the different language. Particularly if you look at a print version, you will see how they look very different on the page. It is a bit trickier to see that online because of all the adverts flashing, and it's all a bit confusing. So yes, have a look. Have a look at online stories, or buy a newspaper, go to the library and have a look at the newspapers and magazines. There they have the daily papers, and you can look, as I say, the more you look at them, the more you compare them, the more you'll be able to identify those features and identify the style, the tone, the type of text, and so on. Any questions about that? Okay, so fictional text, moving on. These include stories, poems, novels, scripts, and so on. And these are the key features. Often use flowery and imaginative language. They'll have imaginary characters and situations. They may take an unusual style, like poetry, with a different style of line spacing or paragraphing. So it might look unusual on the page. They won't quote sources or research. An exception to this may be a historical novel or a work that's based on a work of fiction, but it's based on real life events. They may have the odd footnote here and there just to explain a date or a point or so on. But generally, they would not have quotes or research. Longer text will be organised into acts, chapters, or episodes. Okay, so any questions about fictional texts? I'm assuming that everyone is familiar with those, has read them at some point. I have got one to show you. So a poem. So this is a poem called Needles by a poet called Brian Bilston. And it says, I wrote a poem in the shape of a Christmas tree, but then forgot to water it. And only a few days later, there were words all over the carpet. So what features of fictional writing can you see there? This, and some of the features are particular to poetry. So does this look different to, for example, a letter or a newspaper article? How is it different?
Yeah, so the layout, the way the text is laid out.
Good. So the text is laid out in an eye-catching way. It's a poem about a Christmas tree, and the first part is the words are laid out in the shape of a Christmas tree on the page. And then when it tells us there's words all over the carpet, the words are spread out on the page. Good. Anything else you notice with this text that something's missing that you would expect to see in other types of writing? So the text that you read, you would expect to see something that is not present here at all. So there's no punctuation at all here, is there? So with poetry particularly, but sometimes we apply this to other fiction, writers have what we call artistic license. So to enhance the poem, the story, they don't always have to follow those grammar punctuation rules. They have some artistic license to do things like have this poem with no punctuation and the words all over the place. Okay, I'm going to show you. So let's just quickly look again at the features, and then I'm going to show you another fictional text. So flowery, imaginative language, imaginary characters and situations, unusual style, not quoting research, and may be organised into acts or chapters. So let's have a look at another fictional text and see if you can spot any of those features. So this is a paragraph from the novel Half of a Yellow Sun. His auntie walked faster, her slippers making slap slap sounds that echoed in the silent street. Ugwu wondered if she too could feel the coal tar getting hotter underneath through her thin soles. They went past a sign, Odim Street, and Ugwu mouthed street as he did whenever he saw an English word that was not too long. So, I don't need to read all of it, I don't think, but you can read it yourself, the rest of it. What do you notice here that is a feature of fictional texts?
Longer text.
Pardon?
Longer taxes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well. It's a bit muffled.
Take longer taxes.
It's. Could you write it in the chat, possibly? Because I can't hear you. So, feel free to write in the chat if you're not able to access your microphone or for any other reason. So what do you notice about this? So yeah, so it's longer. So this is only an excerpt, but we've got we have got some long sentences. If we saw the full novel, it would be a longer text, yes. Any other comments? Anything you spot? If we look at the last two lines of the text, the bushes were shaped like slender hills, the lawn glistened, butterflies hovered above. And what type of language is used there? Would you expect to see that in a letter, in a newspaper report? So we've got that, what some people might call flowery or descriptive language. The lawn glistened. The bushes were shaped like slender hills. So it's very much a feature of fictional writing. We've got the fictional characters, his auntie and Ugwu. Okay. So any other comments about that? Okay, let's look at the next slide. Okay, so and before we do the quiz, any questions about what we've looked like? Yes, well done, Samir. Imaginative language was used in that text that we just looked at. Yeah, well done. Okay, so I'll read out this short paragraph at the top. In 2015, it resulted in about 114,800 deaths. 8. The condition was first described in the medical literature by the American physician James B. Herrick in 1910. We've got those two numbers, 13, 14. In 1949, the genetic transmission was determined by E.A. Beat and J.V. Neal. 14. So, is this an example of journalistic, instructional, fictional, or academic?
Academic.
Good. What's made you think it's academic? How do we know that?
Because he used data.
Pardon? He's
Using data.
yeah, so he's referring to figures, isn't he? 114,800 deaths. What else? So the numbers refer, so he's quoting or paraphrasing, and he's giving us the references. So if we had the full text, those numbers, so after the number of deaths, it says number 8 in brackets, then we could go and look at the footnotes or the end notes and read more information, where that number came from and maybe a description. Okay, so it is academic. The wind blew gently through her hair as she stood on the desolate riverbank. So which writing style is this?
Fictional.
Good, it's fictional. How do we know it's fictional?
Flowery language.
Good, so the descriptive or flowery language. The wind blew gently through her hair. So we're getting a picture of this lady or girl stood on a riverbank with her hair gently moving around in the breeze. We're not going to get that type of image in our mind if we're reading a newspaper report or an instructional manual. Good, well done. The property aforementioned will remain the property of the leaseholder ad infinitum unless there is a change in property law. So which one is this?
Official.
Did you say official? Yeah, official. So what tells us it's official? I think it's a legal document. What tells us that? There's two words that are a big clue, that are a feature of legal or official documents.
Law. Property law.
It does say property law, but there's
Yes.
two other words as well
Leaseholder.
that are often used in these type of words are often used in legal documents. So we looked at that earlier.
Leaseholder ad infinitum. Okay.
So yeah, so will remain the property of the leaseholder ad infinitum. So we've got some Latin words in there. Okay. Also aforementioned is also, you wouldn't hear that very often these days. It's archaic, as we heard that word earlier, or old-fashioned. Okay, so well done. Yes, that is official. After attaching the twine to the half-formed mannequin, glue the lower side of the torso to it. So which writing style is this?
Instructional.
Good. So how do you know it's instructional? Where are the clues?
Direction on what to do. You didn't know what side of the torso to reach. That's a direction. Instructing one on what
So
to
it's
do.
directing you. It's using imperatives or command verbs. Glue the lower side. So not please can you glue, but glue. It's just telling you to do it. Good. So tone. Tone is less about what you say and more about how you say it. Look at these tone types. Can you spot which are opposites of each other? So we've got sarcastic, polite, optimistic, fun, pessimistic, serious, erratic, consistent, genius. So can you spot any opposites in that list? So if we start with fun, what would be the opposite of fun?
Serious.
Good. Fun and serious.
Optimistic, pessimistic.
Good. Optimistic and pessimistic.
Oh.
So we've got a sarcastic, which is often deemed to be rude. So what would be the opposite?
Polite.
Good. So sarcastic, polite.
Erratic and consistent.
Yeah, good. So it's a bit tricky, that one. So erratic, all over the place, consistent. There's a, a solid structure to it. And then we've just got that odd one there at the end. Genius. Well done. So decide which sentence has an optimistic tone and which sentence has a pessimistic tone. By the end of the concert, the crowd were ecstatic. I left feeling that I'd fallen in love with music all over again. And then the second one, managerless, rudderless, hopeless. This football team haven't got a hope of avoiding relegation.
The first one is optimistic.
Good. Well done. So the first one is optimistic. It's got positive language, emotive language. The crowd were ecstatic. I'd fallen in love. It's upbeat. Okay. And so that means the second sentence is pessimistic. What tells us it's pessimistic?
Nothing positive. Hopelessness.
Yeah, so the language used, negative language, good. The exaggeration, the rule of three, managerless, rudderless, hopeless, and there's no upside mentioned. Good. So which one is polite, which one is rude? If everybody washed their dishes, we wouldn't have this stinking mess. If all members could kindly leave via the back door, we would be very grateful.
The first one rude.
Pardon?
The first sentence is rude.
Yes, the first one's rude. The direct language, the underlined word, their dishes. So using that pronoun to stress. The stinking mess, the capitalized word. Good. So this one is polite. It's requestful. If people could kindly leave. It's got kindly and grateful. Kindly and grateful. That vocabulary. Okay, very polite. It's indirect. It's aimed just at everybody in general. It's not particularly aimed at one person or group. Good. Genuine or sarcastic. Decide which sentence has a genuine tone and which a sarcastic one. Well done to all those bridge builders who wanted peace in the country. We know we have an even worse situation. Fantastic. One day, all children in this nation will have the opportunity to attain an excellent education.
The first one is sarcastic.
Good. What clues have we got there? What features have we got that help us identify that as sarcastic?
The bridge builders wanted peace in the country.
Yeah, bridge
have-
builders. The punctuation there, bridge builders with the inverted commas, tells us that it means a sarcastic tone. Yeah, well done. It's ironic, it's sarcastic. Well done, fantastic. They don't really mean it. And this one is genuine. It's inspiring, idealistic, and positive. Serious or fun? She's been in the Big Brother house for 2 weeks. She'll paint the town red when she gets out. By extracting the DNA using hitherto unused techniques, the scientists can speed up their current process.
The first is fun.
Good. The first one is fun. So we've got the trivial subject matter, celebrity, in inverted commas, gossip, Big Brother, people in the Big Brother house, simple language, so short sentences, simple language. It's cliche, she'll paint the town red. The punctuation, the exclamation mark. And the serious at the bottom, more like it's like an academic text. The long sentence, it's formal, technical, and we've got that complex sentence with the subordinate clause. So erratic or consistent. All my life I have been a supporter of the Independent Democrats. You should be too. I first came across their policies in 1986 when I read their excellent manifesto for the local elections of that year. The opposition leader was an idiot, so it was a no-brainer. The first election was brill. They secured an unprecedented 11% of the vote and won the councils in Surrey, Glamorganshire and Teesside. Couldn't win a single seat, said some. My eye. It's a shame they folded in 1991 without trace. So is this an erratic text or a consistent text? So we're not looking at which one's which. This one we're looking at the whole thing. So has it got a clear structure, or is it all over the place? The points being made all over the place. Let's have a look. So it begins in a fun, personal style, all my life, then gets more formal. I first came across their policies in 1986. So the tone, the style isn't consistent. So we've got that shortened word in the first sentence of the second part. The first election was brill, so very informal. But then we've got a more formal style, academic. We've got reference to facts and figures there, 11% of the vote, a star there after the word vote, indicating there is a reference included somewhere. And then we've got sarcasm. So this piece, this text is using all sorts of different styles and tones. So we would say it is erratic. It doesn't follow a consistent style. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? So the writer's voice is their unique, personal way of writing, which is often seen as the style plus the tone plus attitude. An attitude is illustrated by a writer's beliefs and values and is often the emotional part of their writing. Writer's voice is a combination of everything in someone's writing to indicate who they are. If any of you are keen fiction readers, particularly fiction, people often like novels by a certain writer because they like the way that they write. So we would say their writer's voice, the style, the tone, the attitude of the book. It can also be seen in non-fiction, but we wouldn't necessarily say we have a favourite journalist, but often it's more to do with fiction. People have a favourite because they like the style, they like that writer's voice. Oops. So we finished for today. Well done. Thank you for your contributions today. It really improves the session when people take part and share their ideas. So thank you. I hope I can see you all tomorrow for our writing session. As I mentioned earlier, the best way to get familiar with the features is to read lots of different types of texts and try and spot those features. The more you read, the more you'll be able to identify them. Any questions before we finish for today?
Yeah, can I have a copy of this session, please?
So this session will be available on Moodle. Do you have your Moodle login yet?
No.
No. So if you contact the office on Monday,
yeah,
and ask for a login for Moodle, that's the online learning platform for UK Versity. And when you log in, there'll be a recording of the session.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly when in the week they upload it, but it will probably be Monday or Tuesday, I would have thought. And then you'll be able to go over it again if you want to.
It's all right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye now.